Hi, we are Switchfoot, and this is A-Sides with Jon Chattman. Would we do a documentary again? Definitely not. Definitely not quick to jump into.
Not too soon from that.
Too soon. No, we learned a lot. I have a lot of respect for people making music for a film. That was an incredible process.
Yeah, it's a great question because I think we're so proud of the resulting thing that we got, the documentary, and but it took so much out of us, kind of opening ourselves up to that kind of vulnerability every day on camera, and then trying to piece it together into a cohesive thing that someone would want to watch is a huge undertaking.
Yeah, the whole thing, Fading West, both the record and the movie were self-funded, and kind of we just did it on our own with some friends. So it was definitely one of those things where I look back on that and I'm really proud of it, but I'm not quick to be like, yeah, that was amazing. That was so much fun. Let's do it again. Yeah, so many of these songs are tied into words like hope, and for me to sing about hope but not to have any connection to doing something about it feels a little dishonest. So we're excited every time we can connect the lyrics or the words with the actions, as far as we're a band, as far as that's concerned. So, yeah, it's amazing to be able to see music actually do something positive and leave the city a better place. And every now and then we get to see that. So pop songs, you got 3 minutes. You can hide behind metaphors and kind of just hide behind melodies. And then when you're writing for, something like the Huffington Post, you can't really do that. You kind of have to spell it out. But you can say a lot more. So for me, I look forward to every time I have a chance to spell something out a little bit more explicitly, but it's a lot less therapeutic. There's no therapy in that. It feels more like, okay, I gotta make sure my English teachers are gonna be proud of me now. Most nights. We hear great stories about people saying, like, I heard that song and I ended up going to Africa or quitting my job that day, like crazy stuff like that. And you hope it's the right choice. Yeah, but I think in many ways we're inspired by the people that come to our shows night after night. Like they tell us these stories, and it feels like it brings the music full circle. One of them was documented in the film Fading West down in South Africa at a place called the Crayfish Factory. And that was a humbling / slightly terrifying moment.
Horrifying.
Of my existence. My board snapped in half, and you're out to sea. And I remember that our host telling me, if anything goes wrong, if you lose your board or anything, just swim for that rock, because if you don't make it, you're getting sucked out to Antarctica. And so I just remember as I see my board pop up in front of me, snapped in half, and in my head I'm just going, worst case scenario, it's bad. And I literally underwater the whole time I'm going, stay calm. So yeah, I got around the corner just fine, and had a big dose of humble pie, and was laughing about it later that night on our way home.
Well, not to mention the sharks.
Yeah, you don't want to think about the sharks.
We were about to paddle out, and one of the locals there in Cape Town showed us an app on his phone that tracks the great whites. Not very comforting when you're about to paddle out into dark water with big waves.
Yeah.
That was it's kind of a shocking moment, because I think growing up in San Diego and I'm a big baseball fan myself, and Jon is too. It was hard to imagine a San Diego without Tony Gwynn, Mr. Padre, and it's still kind of a weird thing to be reminded of it and go, oh yeah, he's no longer with us, because even since he retired, he was so visible in the community, and he was always coming on the broadcast of the games and lending his insight, and he was coaching baseball at SDSU, and just seemed like a guy that impacted so many people's lives. So it's definitely a huge loss.
Yeah, I mean, in sports in general, but especially right now, there's all these horrible negative stories coming to light, and Tony Gwynn's just one of those guys that you're like, yeah, let's talk about that guy. That's the guy I want to hear about. So it was really sad to see him go. Yeah, I mean, even the whole concept of Fading West for us was an interesting endeavor where you're making the soundtrack of a film, of a documentary about making a record. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of technology is also its curse, and trying to figure out ways to use it for good instead of evil. That's always what we've been trying to do. Actually, years ago, like 3 records ago, we put out a single that you could, we'd like hide copies of it around San Diego, and then we started delivering it via Twitter to different people around the world, and they would hide copies of it. So like under the Eiffel Tower, on a train in Germany, and some temple in India, like different places where they would tweet the location and then hide it. Because I think the thing that for me, music has such, we all agree it has such a high value in our lives, but when the cost comes down, what will bring it value? And I think there has to be some sort of connection to worth and effort, and I love the idea of actually looking for it, and so that's the question for me, is when it pops up on your iPhone in the middle of the night, that doesn't feel like, even if somebody was paid for it, that worth, it feels like it, you wonder, where's the worth, where's the effort? And that's, for me, that's the endeavor as musicians, is how do you instill that into the body of work that you're producing.